Buenas tardes. Estamos en este momento en la conferencia Juicio de Auditoría y Toma de Decisiones, que es orientada por el doctor Medhat Endrawes, doctor en auditoría por la Universidad de Western Sydney, Australia, especialista en las áreas de auditoría y contabilidad financiera, con trayectoria académica e investigación centrada en el análisis del juicio profesional de los auditores, la toma de decisiones, la calidad de la auditoría, la ética empresarial y el contexto internacional e intercultural de la auditoría. Doctor Iván.
Okay, good afternoon. So today we are with Dr. Medhat Endrawes. He holds a PhD in auditing from the University of Western Sydney, Australia, and is a specialist in the fields of auditing and financial accounting. His academic and research career focuses on the analysis of auditors' professional judgment, decision-making, audit quality, business ethics, and the international and intercultural context of auditing. His research has employed experimental methodologies, archival analysis, and surveys, as well as systematic literature reviews to understand auditor behavior and the factors influencing the reliability of financial information. Currently, his academic work centers on topics such as auditors, professional skepticism, audit quality, whistleblowing ethics, and auditing in international context. So, Dr. Medhat, are you ready for?
Yeah, I am ready. Muchas gracias. Thank you for the nice presentation. I really appreciate it. Today, I'm going to talk about audit judgment decision making. This is my specializations. And I'm going to talk about my recent publication in the last 5 years. While some of the paper is not about audit judgment, but most of my research about audit judgment. So in the last 5 years, I have published in good quality journal 4 articles. As you can see, the first articles was with one of my students, research students in Macquarie University, Australia. The second one, it was part of my PhD with some colleagues from Macquarie University. And the third one was one of my students in Macquarie University in Sydney. And the last one was as well with one of my students, research master students from Macquarie University, Australia. So these are the 4 recent publication which I was able to do in the last 5 years. And I'm going to talk about each one of them briefly, so to give you an idea about the research. And at the end, I'm going to talk about what I'm currently doing and what is the future I'm going to do with respect to research topic. So the first paper, which is about social and environment reporting. This thesis of one of my students was about universities. So he looked at university. We have in Australia 38 universities. He looked at all of the universities and looked at the financial statement to see which universities really publish a lot about social and environment sustainability report. We use theory called accountability theory, very popular theory, to support our research. So the research method or the design of the research was content analysis, because we had to look at the financial report and also the sustainability report, and try to see how much each university publish about sustainability reporting. Interesting, the key finding was that the 38 universities differ on sustainability disclosure with respect to quantity and quality. So there's some of the universities publish a lot, the other publish a little bit little, and the topic of the sustainability differ from university to university. Very interesting result. This disclosure of sustainability report, we discover it's really influenced by stakeholders, because different universities have different stakeholders, of course, and the different universities have different reputation. So, for example, we found big universities in Australia with very good reputation. They disclose very little about sustainability reporting or sustainability informations, which was surprise to us. However, smaller university, not popular university, we found they publish a lot about sustainability report. So it seems like the big universities, they don't care much about sustainability reporting because they already big, they already have good reputation, so they don't care much about sustainability. And on the other hand, small universities in Australia really publish a lot about sustainability because they haven't got big research. They're not very good in teaching comparing to big universities, which is very interesting result. The second paper, which is we published recently, this is from my PhD. It's about the moderating effect of culture on relationship between accountability and professional skepticism. Professional skepticism is where auditors are required to be skeptical by the international standard of auditing, meaning skeptical, meaning not trusting much. They need to do more work. They need to collect more evidence. This is what we call it skepticism. Because we looked at two culture, Eastern and Western culture, we discover culture actually moderate the relationship between accountability and professional skepticism. Another word, Western comparing to Eastern, they have different level of skepticism, which is very interesting result. So the method which we use, we got a sample of auditors from Big Four in each country or in each society, and we use experiment to test the hypothesis. We ask the participant, and participant in this case, as you are aware, is auditors from Big Four. We asked them to assess the risk of fraud and error. And also, we have a scenario where auditors ask the senior management to explain some informations, and it's up to the auditor to believe the management or do not believe the management. So this is the design of our study, experiment design. So in the scenario, which I'm not having it now, it's but I can show it to you if you want to. in the future. Accountability, we have high accountability and we have low accountability. So how we did that in the experiment, we said to the auditor, your answer about this scenario, your answer going to be evaluated by your manager, but in low accountability, we said to the auditor, give them information that your judgment will be confidential and no one going to see your answer. So this is how we manipulated accountability in this case. Culture, we have two culture, Western society and Middle Eastern society. And we measure skepticism in two ways. First of all, distrust, scale 1 to 7, and believe about fraud risk, scale 1 to 7, and believe about error risk 1 to 7. So this is how we measure professional skepticism, which is in three ways: distrust, belief about fraud risk, and error risk, which is we have a questions about that. What we found there is a significant relationship between professional skepticism and culture. In other words, people from different culture, they have different level of professional skepticism. And we also found that accountability, when it's high, it's usually the professional skepticism is higher. So when you feel that your manager going to review your answer, you're likely going to be skeptical. On the other hand, when your manager not going to check your answer, professional skepticism was lower, which is very interesting result. As I said, accountability affect professional skepticism. And that's what we believe when we design our experiment. When we put interaction or moderation between culture and accountability, it was significant result, especially with respect to fraud. Remember, we measure skepticism in three ways. If you remember, that's different. Sorry. This is how we measure skepticism: trust, distrust, fraud risk, and error risk. This fraud risk was really significant. In other words, fraud risk increases skepticism. It's a part of skepticism. On the other hand, error risk wasn't that significant, which makes sense. You know, people care more about fraud risk rather than error risk. And fraud risk, as you know, it's mistakes, but there is no intention. On the other hand, the fraud risk, it's a mistake, but there is part of it intention. So that's why we found significant relationship with respect to fraud risk. On the other hand, trust was not that important comparing to fraud risk, and also error risk was not important too. So the final result, or the final understanding from this particular study, is that Middle Eastern culture They have very high power distance, like they have a lot of respect to their manager, similar to Colombia, comparing to Western society, which is the power distance is a little bit small, like any person can disagree with their manager, any person can report to their manager if they're not happy with. So they haven't got that high power distance, which is opposite to what's happening here in Colombia. So this is the main paper which I have. The third paper, it was about part of our students. Our students, Jen, it's from Kenya, African, and she was a student with us in Macquarie University in Sydney, Australia, for a couple of years, and she finished her thesis, and we did publication from it. So in Kenya, ethnicity is so important. What we mean by ethnicity? We mean that the people in Kenya are divided into ethnic group. So they have about maybe, for memory, 40 ethnic group, and every group they care about themselves, including auditors. The auditors also part of ethnic group. So ethnic group number 1, number 2, number 3. So we thought this is a good type of research because we don't know anything about ethnic group, or especially in African countries such as Kenya. And so what she did, she looked at some ethnic group and to see if they're going to blow the whistle. Blow the whistle means if you see something wrong, you need to talk about it. That's called whistleblowing. So I'm working in Havariana, for example, now. If I see something wrong in Havariana, I talk to Heva, or my boss, or my manager. This is, we call it whistleblowing. So we have a survey. The method was survey. And we gave the survey to auditors in Kenya, and we asked them, you are from this particular ethnic group, and one of the group did mistake. Are you going to blow the whistle? Are you going to report it or not? What we found, as we expecting, ethnicity really influence whistleblowing. So if I am part of ethnic group 1 and there is ethnic group 2 and one did mistake in ethnic group 2, I'm going to report it. I'm going to blow the whistle. But if one of my group did something wrong, I'm not going to talk about it. So I'm going to keep quiet. So auditors more likely to report wrongdoing when the wrongdoer coming from different ethnic group, which is very interesting result. So this particular finding, or that particular result, show that it's important of social and culture factor in decision making. So this is a new things. I'm not sure in Colombia here we have ethnic group, or we have group they help each other. We have, I know, I read some times ago about Rosca, which is people in one Rosca protect each other. So that's a similar things to this particular study, which is ethnic group in Kenya. The third paper, which is again was one of the research students. He was looking at audit committee characteristic and financial report comparability. So what this research trying to do, they look at if audit committee have the same characteristic. Audit committee, for those who don't know audit committee, they are not auditors, but they are part of board of directors or corporate governance. So audit committee could be accountant, could be psychologist, could be doctor, could be anything. So they not have to have accounting degree or finance degree. Sometimes they outside of a business degree at all. So the research question for this particular study, whether audit committee characteristic, and I'm going to talk about characteristics soon, really help to compare financial statements. What this means, if I have 10 companies and each company, they have audit committee, and each audit committee in these 10 companies, they have the same characteristic. What I mean by characteristic is they have the same qualification, they have the same gender, whether female or male, they have financial expertise or not. So if we'd like to compare 10 companies, it is possible if the characteristic of the audit committee is the same, which is very interesting result. If the audit committee characteristic is different, we cannot compare the financial statement, which is a problem. So the research design or method was using archival empirical study. What this mean? Archival means data which is somewhere in the country. We use in this particular study data from US companies because in Australia we don't have big market as America. So to get big data or number of data, we use the American data. So this archival study means there is a data somewhere which is you can collect from the share market, from different websites, from different organizations, and you put this data in Excel sheet and start analyzing it. So when we talk about audit committee characteristic, its characteristics could be independent, what their expertise, and the size of the audit committee. So size usually between 3 members to 4 to 5 members. Expertise, as I mentioned, could be accounting expertise, could be non-accountant. Independent mean they are not part of the organization. So audit committee, they are independent, non-executive directors. So part of board of directors, but they are non-executive. What I mean by non-executive, they don't work full-time in the organizations. So what we found from this study, independent audit committee, financial knowledge audit committee member are associated with high comparison of the financial report. So in other words, if the audit committee independent and they have financial knowledge, likely we can compare between two companies' financial statement. So This finding show it is important in corporate governance to have audit committee which is have this particular characteristic. So in order to enhance the quality of the financial report, and therefore we can compare the financial statement between, say, Latam and Avianca. So if they have the same audit committee, we can do that. If we haven't got similarity in audit committee with respect to independent financial report, it's very hard to compare Avianca with Latam, for example. So these are the paper which I published in the last 5 years. And now I'm going to talk very quickly about what I'm currently doing. So I am, because I've been in Havariana for 4 years, so I developed some studies about Colombia, auditors in Colombia, and with two colleagues from Havariana, two professors collected and helped me in writing this paper about corporate corruptions. As you know, corruption is very important here. So would like to see if corruption really impacts on co-offending. What I mean by co-offending, I mean if you see something wrong and you don't talk about it, you did the same thing. So you've been part of the problem. So if you see someone, if a student is cheating in the exam and you don't talk about it, you are cheated in the exam too. It's called co-offending. So it's opposite to whistleblowing, which I spoke about it. So this particular paper have been submitted to a journal called Accounting and Finance, and we're waiting for the result. We have another paper which is nearly finished about corporate corruptions, professional skepticism. Actually, this is the same. So my apology, I'm repeating it. The other paper which I'm doing with the colleagues from National University in Colombia, it's called professional skepticism, but we're looking at whether auditing firm size, there is big four auditing firm, and we have non-big four, and we have a small firm. In Colombia, I know there is a lot of medium-sized audit firm. And we look at the size of the client, so the company which we auditing, and the size of the company can affect on auditors. So for example, if I am an auditor and I'm auditing Bank of Colombia, maybe my professional skepticism will be different if I'm auditing another small company. So maybe auditors not going to be skeptical with respect to Bank of Colombia comparing to other companies, smaller companies. The other paper which we submitted, it's about investment decisions. So this is another experiment with colleagues from Havariana as well. And in this particular experiment, we use some of our students in Havariana, and we ask them whether you invest in a particular company given the integrated report or sustainability report informations. We're waiting for the result from the journals. Another paper about accountability in different culture and professional skepticism. but we measure here professional skepticism by audit procedures or audit testing. So sometimes the auditor perform the audit using confrontation, like asking questions, meeting with the management, and sometimes the auditors do the audit test without confrontation, which you call it non-confrontation. We expecting again in different culture, different auditor use different audit testing. So we're waiting for the result from the journals as well. So with respect to other paper, which is we started, but we haven't finished yet. The first paper again with colleagues from Havriana, and this is where we're trying to see if the audit committee have sustainability expertise can affect on the investment decision or willing to invest. And also the sustainability report type. For example, we could have sustainability report, which is a stand-alone report, or sustainability report part of the financial statement. Also, we're looking at another paper which about social tie. There is here some connections between audit committee and the government. For example, would like to see if this is have impact on the reporting quality. And recently we developed paper about monitoring relationship. You know, in any organization I am working, I have some other person monitoring me, or similar to my manager monitoring me. So we're looking at we're using here forensic auditors or fraud auditors to see if monitoring increase or decrease whistleblowing, again whistleblowing. The other one, it's about using artificial intelligence, AI, and how its impact on auditor fraud risk assessment. And the last one, it's about the trust between management and the auditors, and this is how impact on the decision making of the auditors coming from different culture. I would like to thank you for listening to my presentations. If you have any questions, this is my email and my WhatsApp. Still using Australian WhatsApp 61. So please feel free to communicate with me. In the meantime, I will be available Sabato, 9 a 11. Muchas gracias. Thank you very much.
Profesor, muchísimas gracias por su participación. Ya en ese momento se comunica también nuestro compañero para dar algunas instrucciones. Voy a parar la grabación en este momento, ¿sí? Pero no terminamos la reunión. Gracias.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank
Medhat.
you. Well, my pleasure.
Okay, they are telling me, remember that I told you if you are available on Saturday from 9:40